One thing that I thought was insane was the Joe Rogan thing. $100 million for what was the licensing for his...
I believe, yeah, I don't know. I think it was the licensing for the Joe Rogan podcast. So only exclusively Spotify can have that. So I think what he's doing is he's keeping it as is, and then I think September he starts doing both, and then I think by November of this year it's going to be just on Spotify.
That's insane. I'm just trying to picture in my head, because I don't know what his net worth was beforehand, but waking up and then just like getting $100 million. $100 million.
I mean, I don't know how it's structured or how the payments are, because usually I'm guessing those deals wouldn't just be here's $100 million up front. It would be we guarantee you $100 million a year for the next 3 years, contingent on these certain things.
Was that it? $100 million per year?
No, sorry. What did I say? No, like
$100
million total, but we're going to pay you, a certain amount per year, but it's going to be a contract worth $100 million. Like, because you hear athletes get to sign a $20 million contract, $30 million contract. It's not all paid at once. It's paid annually.
Right. And you think that's just like recorded as income and just taxed as income with state and federal taxes? Just like...
Yeah. I don't know how he has it structured, but yeah, I mean, a portion of that would probably end up in his pocket. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And one thing that it reminded me of, just acquiring that big of a lump sum at once, is this movie called Brewster's Millions. Have you ever heard of Brewster's Millions?
No.
So it's about a guy who was like a failed minor league pitcher. So nothing spectacular. And he just finds out, like out of nowhere, that his uncle had like a ton of money, basically. And the thing was, it was like a game. Yeah. He said, if you can spend $30 million and have net assets zero by the end of it, then you get the rest, like the other $300 million. So this guy in this movie, he had a month to spend $30 million. And if he couldn't spend it, he didn't get the extra $300 million. But if he could do it, then he got like, $300 million and like 10 times more than he initially got.
Right.
Which was like crazy in my mind. Because I saw this movie a long time ago, so I'm probably butchering a lot of the facts and stuff like that. But have you ever heard of Brewster's Millions?
No.
And it's crazy to me because I think, like, what would you do? How would you spend, like, that $30 million?
Easy. I would say art, cars, watches, real estate. I mean...
But then you'd have assets.
Oh, you have to spend... Oh, and not have any assets.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you have to have net assets zero from that $30 million.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, you could basically...
And you couldn't tell anyone.
Yeah, so you would be able to rent a really expensive house. There are plenty of houses that you could rent. Hamptons prime season, I think it's like $200,000 a month. You could pay even more for like full staff and stuff like that. You could rent a whole bunch of houses like that. You're not owning any assets on that. You could rent some really expensive... It's basically renting everything.
So that's what you would do.
Yeah,
because in the movie, he did a lot of things. Like there were limitations with like, you can't give away a certain amount, you can't tip a certain amount.
Right.
And I'm thinking like I might just accept the $30 million. Because in the movie, he was this close to not getting the $300 million.
You would have to have a plan, but I bet you could plan it out and diligently, plan to spend the $30 million.
It's just an interesting...
It would take a lot of time. I mean, it seems like for a month, you'd really have to try to spend that much money.
Yeah, because like people came to him with like ridiculous investment ideas. He'd be like, sure, write a check. And one of them like paid off like a ton of money, like back to his $30 million. So like... And also at the same time, he couldn't tell anyone that he was spending this money. So everyone thought that he was just
squandering. Would be a great thing is just gamble it.
No, you can't.
You can't gamble.
No, there was a limitation on gambling.
Okay.
But I'm thinking like no one knew. So everyone thought that he was like a loser and everyone started hating him and like he ruined like a social life and everyone was abusing him for his money. And
you know
stuff
what?
Like
you could almost buy like really expensive priceless paintings and then damage them.
Assign it as...
You damage them and they're worth so much less. Like imagine buying, let's say like a Mona Lisa, let's just say.
People would be so mad at you.
And you drive over
light it on fire.
You light it on fire. Something like that. And then the ashes, you sell the ashes back for, let's say, $1 million or something like that. And then now you only have $1 million to spend in 30 days. You could do that with exotic cars too. You just get like a vintage Ferrari, $10 million.
Just crash it.
And then sell it $1 million, right? It's got to be with something like that. And then just, now you spend $1 million or something, and you just repeat that.
Right, but also the risk of having that. Like $30 million, in my opinion, is enough, right? Like if you put it in the market, it's like 7%, it's $2.1 million a year. So you could live easily off of $1 million a year, off of $30 million. And to take the chance of not getting anything in the end.
It's a lot of work. I'd probably take the challenge, but I'd find a way to spend it.